Hello again, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of On the Range podcast with Warhog Tactical and Kelley Fence. I am Mark Kelley, and joined with me, as always, is my co-host and friend, Rick Hogg from Warhog Tactical. How's it going, buddy?
Man, Mark, it's going great today. Super excited. We've got a guest, but just want to thank you, the viewer listener, for giving us your most precious commodity, your time to tune in. We couldn't do it without you guys, so do us a huge favor. Swing by warhog.com, kelleydefense.com, and the new ontheRangePodcast.com. Sign up for the newsletters. Trust me, we will not inundate you with a bunch of stuff, just pertinent data that refers to us. And since you're out there surfing the interwebs, do me a favor as well. Whatever platform you're listening to, YouTube, Spotify, Apple, whatever, go ahead and subscribe, hit that little notification, leave us a rating review. That's what's going to help us beat this whole big tech algorithm. Guys, don't forget, make sure you're out doing your dry fire training, get your fitness in, look for that act of kindness, and how are you being 1% better every single day?
Yeah, buddy, it's good to see you again. Wherever you are, everyone, thank you for making us part of your day. Like Rick said, he's going to intro a fantastic couple of guests that we have. One is going to be video. So if you're not, you're listening and you want to check out the video, you can go to YouTube and Facebook and X and check that out. But as always, today's episode is brought to you by the Firearms Training Notebook, 1% Better Every Day by Warhog Tactical and Kelley Defense. Go to the websites, click it, check it out. You know what? If you don't have a plan and you're not tracking your progression, you're not going to see your improvement, buddy. And that's what this book does. So if you want to go ahead and let us know who we got today, super excited.
Yeah, buddy. So we got Amanda Suffecool. She is a nationally recognized 2A advocate. She's also the host of Eye on the Target Radio. Make sure you check that out after you're done listening to the episode. She's a firearms instructor, and she's also an NRA board member. In the backside, we got Marcus Kahn from Modern Spartan Systems. So having some comms issues, so he'll kind of chat us some messages if anything goes on. So, but anyway, Amanda, welcome to the show. Thanks for taking your time, and glad you're here.
Well, thanks for having me. I really, really appreciate it. And I'm kind of sorry that Marcus isn't sitting right beside me here.
Modern day technology, that's what we get. So maybe he needs to go reach out, get a Starlink from Elon, kind of bump up his Wi-Fi or whatever, and get comms and video established. So
that's right.
They've made stuff so much easier, and it's harder. Yeah, it's all that.
It's a crazy world, without a doubt. Technology is always going to be that kind of that linchpin. We were kind of talking, pre-production, as far as with you being the host of Eye on the Target Radio, trying to get the message out there, right? Letting people know, hey, where can they get it? What you got going on? Topics you cover, all that stuff. So it's all marketing, trying to get the message out.
Well, and so when you really think about Second Amendment marketing, they've throttled us so badly that if you speak of firearms or guns or safety or security or bullets or ammunition or powder or any of those are all bad words, right? And so they've really managed for a long time to kind of keep us in the corner. But I don't think they're going to in the long run. I think I'm seeing a shift, and I'm seeing some turning, and we'll see what happens.
Where are you seeing the shift or turn at?
Well, I think, look at what Zuckerberg did with Facebook, where he started to do the apology tour, right? Mm-hmm. We'll see if he meant it or not, but there's a piece of it. You look at X, and X is starting XTV, right? Mm-hmm. Which means that if you're not going to play, we're just going to take the game and move it to a whole nother field. So, mm-hmm. So I think that those kind of shifts are going to cause different platforms to be like, wait for me. And then when you start to look at what's happening on some of the news programs and which people have just been deplatformed, if you will, and they're not on the right. So it's that too is a shift that we haven't seen in years.
And you bring up a great point with X, right? Because in Zuckerberg, so I want to talk those two and kind of get your take on that. So to me, Zuck's a liar. I'm going to call it like it is. He can sit there and say what he wants. He has deactivated one of our pages on Instagram, so our Warhog Tactical, for the quote unquote violation, whatever that, he deemed a violation.
The super secret one that they're not going to tell you what it is, exactly. But you'll know it when you did it, right?
Yeah.
you should be,
you know,
feel bad about it.
but Zuckerberg also uses some interesting terms like free expression. Why don't you say free speech? Right? Words to me are super important this day and age because we're changing words to fit different narratives.
Mm-hmm.
But he's also playing catch up because he watches what X is doing and he tries to copy that. So if you think about when X came out with their little blue check mark, he's like, "Oh, I got to jump on that bandwagon." Right? His platform, in my opinion, is sinking because of his
Mm-hmm.
politics. And
Mm-hmm.
like, I don't even use anything Meta anymore, really, um, because of that. And that's the frustrating part is how do we change these platforms that are supposed to allow free speech, not free
Mm-hmm.
expression, free speech, because there's nothing illegal about firearms. Like they try to tell you, oh, you're selling guns. I'm not selling guns. I have
Right.
a picture, right? I'm doing an educational piece. I'm doing something. I'm not saying come buy whatever, but that's always their argument. So I'd love to hear. I mean, I know you got the shift. You think it's kind of laying in the X. Do you think Meta's actually going to come around?
I think it has to. And the reason I think it has to is that their their audience is aging. And
Mhm.
if they don't shift, they are going to be what was that, MySpace? They're going to be the
Mhm.
MySpace of our generation, right? Which was everybody had a page, but nobody remembers what their password is, right?
Yeah.
They're been done, gone. TikTok came, it's extremely popular, but where's it going to go now? When everybody was off of it for a little while, was that enough of a break? What? I don't know. But I think that when you look at any of these platforms, they are looking at longevity in life. It's a business. And
Mhm.
so if their business profile is not keeping them in business, they're going to have to shift whatever that is. And you learn that your politics, Michael Jordan actually said it the best. He was like, I'm in the business of basketball and selling shoes. And everyone has feet. So why would I alienate 50% of my audience
Mhm.
because I share something that will alienate 50% of the audience? I'll stay out of it.
Yeah.
No, I
You
agree.
you bring up a great point. I mean, that platform, was it almost 3 billion users a day?
Mm-hmm.
However, if you ask a younger person, they're like, "Oh, that's old. That's just old people." So they
Mm-hmm.
have a horrible messaging problem. And not only that, I think the fact that you're on the show, I think has got to be some kind of divine intervention because Rick and I were having this discussion not that long ago that the NRA has a huge messaging problem. And
Mm-hmm.
I think one of them is, oh, that's just a bunch of old folks that are out there, going to conventions and they're wearing
Oh,
their things around their credentials
I'm
around their neck.
I'm
And
going to use my line because
and there's
typically it is dudes with beards and plaid shirts. You guys are just missing
exactly.
the plaid shirts.
Yeah.
And but no, it's shifting and carry on, but it is shifting, and I can roll out some hope and I'll tell you the wheres and whys.
Well, when I was a kid, you saw NRA stuff all the time, and there's some value there. There was something that people, not only to protect the 2A stuff, but there was some value and association and community with it. Completely severed, in my opinion. You don't even hear about it anymore. And then a lot of the big name talent that they had just less than 5, 6, 7 years ago they fled too. So I'd love to hear your take on that and what you think that you need to do to it as being a quasi insider.
Okay, so yeah, let's talk about that a little bit. And so I can tell you that when the shift happened was 2018, 2019. And that was New York State came after the NRA with the intent to not only shut it down, but to defund it and to take all of the NRA's assets and give it to think about this, like-minded gun safety organizations within the state of New York.
Mm,
So who says that they're a gun safety organization in the state of New York? Moms Demand Action, Bloomberg, those groups. And so New York's intent was to take all of the assets of the NRA and to give it to the anti-gun groups. And so the NRA was fighting for its absolute very existence. And in that, then they started to dig into, so now we're hiring lawyers and we're looking at stuff and money got shifted. And that money got shifted because we couldn't continue to market while we're trying to hire lawyers and fight. So things fell apart and things stopped and relationships ended. And some of them ended for a variety of reasons. And if you read some of the blogs, you'll get an insider's look at some of the stuff that was going on. But one of the big things that happened was that Ackerman McQueen, the marketing firm, and the NRA got a divorce. And then both groups went on the defense, and they were fighting for who got custody of the children. And we, all of us NRA card-carrying members, were the children. And so there were ugly things said on both sides, and some of them stuck, and those things really hurt the NRA. And so you take that, then you say we stopped marketing because we didn't have any money. And so the NRA was bleeding cash because New York figured out that if they couldn't defund them, they would just sue them into oblivion. And they would use New Yorkers' money and the United States money to cause the NRA to have to use its money to defend itself. And so there was that. I mean, so many of my peers and friends were all had to go to New York and be there for weeks at a time for a trial that lasted practically years. So think about it in this aspect, and that is that when was the last time you thought about Paris Hilton? Right? It's been a long time. You know, she's not on our radar. But remember, not 3 years ago, 4 years ago, she was on the radio. She was on the TV. She was on every morning show. She was in commercials. She was everywhere because her marketing firm put her front and center. And then she stopped. And when she stopped, she just went into oblivion. That is what happened to the NRA. And so we have a marketing problem. We have a PR problem. We have a marketing problem. And so the court cases are over. And so we are now at a spot where we're past the New York lawsuit. New York did not get what they wanted to have out of it. And so now we're looking at all the pieces and saying, okay, what are we doing? How are we doing it? How are we putting it back together? And how are we talking to our members? And that's really what's going on right now. And that is why this election is absolutely so critical.
And I think a big thing, Amanda, is, it's all the, if you want to say, backside solicitation. Hey, if I'm already a member, you're sitting there, who knows how much money you're blowing in mail and printing and all the other stuff. And then the constant solicitation phone calls. Hey, you going to renew your membership? I'm 5, 10 life whatever it is, right?
Whatever it is. Yeah.
Well, but everyone's going to be different, right? Like, I understand, hey, part of it is if you've got that person in their windows coming up, sure. Hey, friendly reminder, your membership is about to expire. Okay, cool. But personally, for me speaking, like, I don't need a buck knife. I don't need a range bag, right? If it works for you guys, great. But it just looks kind of janky. And, kind of what we're talking about earlier is get back to the grassroots. Where's the NRA safety program for the kids? Where's, Eddie Eagle? I think he's up and flown, right? It used to be a fantastic program. Not sure if it's still floating around or not. I know I used it with my kids, but it's kind of getting back to the essence of what the NRA was designed for, kind of getting that firearm safety, firearms marksmanship. And then in turn, as this whole anti-gun movement started swinging along, okay, the NRA stepped up and did business. So I don't mind being, telling me, hey man, North Carolina, you got this going on. Perfect, right? Educate the members so they can take action on the NRA's behalf. So I agree with you. Just some definite, challenges coming forward, and hopefully you guys are working on that marketing and messaging.
Well, working on it for a couple reasons. So let's put a couple things out there first. So the reason that they contact you and ask you to renew your membership or make a donation is because it works. And so the amount of money that's spent, the return is much bigger than the amount of money expended to be able to do that. And for a lot of people, it just is a reminder that says, oh, I need to send them $20 or $40 or $100. And because they're doing things and those things are happening in my community, there's that. I like your idea. The Eddie Eagle program is still there. The school safety program is still there. The firearms education and training is still there, but what's missing is the marketing of it. And so I concur and I agree with that. And so that is a piece of where are we going next? Where are we now that we're like, okay, that the fight is over. So now we can sit at the table and plan for what the future looks like. How can we do this? What do we do? Here's one of the questions that I ask so many insiders in the Second Amendment world. Who funded the Bruen decision through the Supreme Court? Do you have any idea?
I'm sure you'll tell us.
The NRA did 100%.
Okay.
But what the NRA didn't do was they didn't market. And they need to be hit upside the head with a Supreme Court case, right? The entire docket. Boom. But they were in there doing the work, but they didn't market it. So in 2022, they're in the middle of this lawsuit. They're fighting for people's rights. I mean, because I firmly believe that the Bruen decision is even bigger than the Heller decision, when it comes to what does it mean to us and what's it going to mean to the Second Amendment and all of those kind of things. But there's a variety of fights that we're facing. So let me flip right over to the election, because what do you guys know about the board of directors elections?
What you're about to tell us.
Okay, so here's how this happens is that in the past, the board of directors elections were a group, the nominating committee that was picked by the board of directors inside, would then pick 31 people to hold 25 seats. So 5 didn't make it, but the other 25 did. And people thought that they had choices because, well, look, there's more people running than there is actually going to be elected. I tried for 4 years to get through the nominating committee to be considered for nomination. And each year I didn't make it. And when you really look at my pedigree, I'm not going to blow my own horn, but if I don't, nobody else will. I'm the regional director for Women for Gun Rights. I'm the only nationally syndicated Second Amendment female radio host in the nation, and I've been doing it since 2010. I've won the Defender of Liberty Award from the Second Amendment Foundation. So, I've done stuff all over the country that is Second Amendment rights and Second Amendment. I've testified in Michigan and Ohio, in Michigan, Ohio, and in Florida, all for constitutional carry or those types of things, right? And yet I was overlooked each and every time. And so what's happening with this election is the fact that the nominating committee nominated their group of people, and there's a group looked at it and said that those candidates don't reflect us. They don't reflect growth. They don't reflect the things that the NRA should stand for now. So we did a signature petitions and ran by petitions and got 13 additional candidates on the ballot by petition. And now, so instead of the typical 31 candidates, there are 49 candidates that are on the ballot for you to choose from. And then we created a slate of candidates and said, here's our ticket. And this slate of candidates, if you elect those, will fill out all of the seats, not allowing somebody that has been found by New York State to be culpable in the lawsuit, or has not looked the other way when Wayne LaPierre was doing his shenanigans, or all of the other things that really angers you about the insider in the NRA. And so we're shifting the dynamic to business owners, to people who have marketing skills and business skills and accounting skills. And we're looking to run the NRA like it's a business and not like it's a little clubhouse where everybody's all friendly. And so it's extremely dynamic right now because they've not seen anything like this before. And so this year is the most important election. and then next year and the year after, because it takes 3 years to clean out the people that people are like, well, I don't want this person or I don't want that person. It takes 3 full years because of the way that the NRA elections run to be able to get all of your candidates in and their candidates out.
How I want to circle back to the direction that, I think that's a fascinating topic to me because of exactly what you said about not marketing the decision that came through the Supreme Court. But before I do that, how do people learn more and how do we let them know more about the candidates? I know we can say, hey, there's an election coming. We can say that. How do they actually go through the candidates? And is that something that the NRA is going to push out all those candidates? Or are they just going to do the ones who are current board members who are running as incumbents?
So when you get your magazine, everybody who is an eligible voter, and you have to be a 5-year member or a life member to be eligible to, so 5 continuous years that you have been an NRA member or a life member for you to be able to actively vote this year. And so your February magazine that came to you middle of January, maybe the 3rd week of January, when you open it, the centerfold has your ballot. And the ballot is directed to you. It's got your name on it. They want your signature on it. It is truly an election, and it's ran by a third party. It is an election. So it's not only who votes, but who counts it. And there is an outside third party that controls that. And so I'm sorry, I'm trying to make that stop making that noise. Okay. I don't know if you got it. So the NRA in the ballot will have a 150-word description of each and every candidate that's running. The group, the change agent group, if you will, they call themselves the NRA 2.0, the NRA, the shift in the NRA. They have a website called Elect a New NRA, and there's a more in-depth, detailed bio for each of the people that we are suggesting that you consider on your ballot. And so, that is where you would find the more detailed background. But you can look up each person and go from there, because in order to make it onto the NRA, onto the ballot for the NRA, they're not just Joe homebody that goes hunting on Tuesdays, right? I mean, they are someone that has done something in the industry. They're out there doing things in a wide variety of ways. So a Google search should find you each and every candidate. So even if the ones that you're interested in are not on that website, that's what I would recommend that you look for. Okay. But we really are fighting to be able to clean out any perception of corruption, and to make it to where that it is really run best practices, benchmarking, and run it like a business. I mean, and respect the dues that are being paid by the members, and respect the fight that they want us to fight. And so that's really where we are and where our direction is.
And Amanda, you hit the nail on the head, right? Run it like a business. So have that transparency where, again, in essence, the NRA is providing a service back to the member, and that's ensuring that, hey, we don't have any more of our Second Amendment rights taken away. But that's going to be, if there is a way, and it would be interesting to look back in history to see monies that slid out the door if those accounting records are still around, but be totally transparent. Hey, we took in umpteen $1 million from our members. We got X amount in, legislation, alert, additional funds. We've put out this much towards, a case here, there, wherever it is, just so people understand. Because it's one thing to give your, regular dues, but above and beyond, and I know I'm in the same boat, right? What are these cats doing with the cash I'm giving them?
Right.
And then you hear the scandalous, talk in the back, and, whether it's Wayne LaPierre, who's collecting all kinds of, like, what's your paycheck, right? What are you getting? I understand getting a fair salary for what you're doing.
Well,
What's
except that board members, it's all volunteer. So
and
they're
the board, right?
right.
And I'm not talking the
Mhm,
board members, right? I'm just talking
mhm,
if you want to say the corporate structure of the
right.
NRA. The board members, yes, you want to have those best individuals suited in there that aren't looking for any sidebar projects. But I'm
Mhm.
saying, as far as when you run the NRA like a business, there's got to be transparency, and there's got to be something as far as, hey, where's the funds going, or what's going on with them, if that makes sense.
No, and I think that there's that. This year I was elected or was appointed onto the finance committee. And so that to me gave me a really good opportunity to kind of see the budget and what happens. And
Mhm.
um, so just to give you my background is that I am a manufacturing engineer. I retired keeping airplanes in the sky, but I did a lot of operations and budgets and responsibilities and big projects, things like that. But the NRA's budget, just to do all of the different things that the NRA does, and the NRA is so much more diverse than most people could even think about and name, is 200 to 300 million dollars a year. And that is the education and training, that is the competitions, that is Whittington Center, that is the building in Fairfax, that is all of the staff for the ILA, that is when you really start to look at it. And there are groups of people who are like, well, I'm going to give my money to and insert a name here, whatever that name is. And it's like, okay, and I am a member of those groups also. But I look at it to say that the NRA is like 30 times larger than the next largest organization that is
Mhm.
there. And so the amount of depth and breadth that they do is huge. So each one of them now, the NRA is actually actively working with Firearms Policy Coalition, with the Second Amendment Foundation, with GOA on different bills and writing amicus briefs. And guess what? We're all in this together. So let's
Mhm.
work together. And so people take wherever their strength is and somebody else works along with it. I think the management of all of those organizations gets it. I think that the grassroots people are still in this us versus them thing, and it'll take a little while to get past some of that. But I see that shift also.
Yeah.
But
Okay, we're
Amanda,
gonna.
sorry, Mark, I totally cut you off, but that's just each organization letting their members know, hey, there's safety in numbers, for lack of better terms. We're going to
Mhm.
extend our reach.
Right.
So to me, it shouldn't matter. I don't care what organization you're a part of. You're part of preserving your firearms rights and not having any more infringed, right? The more the merrier is the way
Well,
I
there
look at
is
it.
that, but there's also there are large, credible, and I named them, credible
Mhm,
organizations that you want to be friendly with and you want to work with. And then there are others who fundraise solely on fear and
Mm,
fear mongering and trash talking and things like that. And so just know that there's both lines there.
yeah.
There's a little bit of all of that, and they shall remain nameless, but it is a little bit of all of it.
yeah, and
Yeah.
that's what taints everything.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're gonna go ahead and try to bring Marcus in and see if we get some at least audio and see how that
Okay.
works. I know he's got some good points. Marcus, can you hear me, buddy?
Okay. So we can see you, Marcus, but not hear you.
Okay. Yeah, we'll edit some of that stuff. That's no problem. I thought we'd give him a shot. I couldn't hear him either.
Mm-mm.
So no, that's a great point. And just to get back to the one piece we kind of touched on a little bit before we move on to the next topic was, if you're going to try to start the marketing machine going again and try to work with that piece, what are the main groups that you're trying to hit? Because like Rick has said it, not only do we understand the value, and that's what I tried to say before,
Hmm.
portraying what's the value for folks. For many of us, we already know that this is There's nothing more important than this, than protecting those the right to bear arms. And at this junction, I think, of history, especially after the shutdowns and all those brand new gun owners that flooded the market, how are they going to reach out? And aside from like that group, who else are they trying to target? Is it younger people?
I think it's everybody. I mean, when you start to look at so there's so many different directions that it can go. But let's talk radio, podcast, that group of people. People only find you because they found you, not and they had to physically go look for you. Either they
Yes.
saw you someplace and then there was a crossover, something, and then they went and looked for you, then they downloaded you and they got you. So we want to figure out how to make that more available so that it's more mainstream, so that there's ways that people can find each one of the groups, right? And each one of the people who's got a voice within that group. So there's that. You look at the growth in the women's organizations and the women's shooting organizations, the Well-Armed Woman, A Girl and a Gun, that they've turned it into a social aspect in addition to firearms and firearm safety and all of that. And then you look at the folks who are looking at it because COVID woke them up, and all of a sudden they've decided that they're going to build an underground house, build a bunker, and tell the government to stay off their land, right?
Right.
But
Right.
there are some people that are not quite that extreme, but are looking at that same thing going, okay, how do I get involved? How do I stop the government from overreach? Where are they? And I think the Second Amendment is a good meeting ground for that. And so trying to find those people and make tools available to them so that they can hear it, they can learn things, and that you can do the crossover. Because I don't think that most people understand, because it's not being shared. I mean, so they don't understand the impact of what this means to what that means to what the other thing means. It was like the same time that the Bruin decision came out of the Supreme Court. One day was Bruin. The next day was the Roe versus Wade rehash, whatever that case is. I can never remember its name.
Yeah.
And then the third day was West Virginia versus the EPA. So gun people are like, look at Bruin. And I'm like, okay, look at Bruin, but also look at the West Virginia versus the EPA. That said, that government organizations where people are hired don't get to make laws that impact you and I. Only Congress gets to make those laws. And it is going to have a huge overreach. And so it actually is coming back and being cited so many times. The Bruin case has been cited in court cases that have run through the courts 1,600 times, that are clear through the courts already, 1,600 times since June of 2022. We wouldn't have Cargill after that. We wouldn't have the fact that I was talking to Michael Cargill just a couple of weeks ago, and there's a whole nother case that he was like, it was going to have a lot of meaning. And the other side just said, okay, you win, we're going to roll over. And then people don't understand that what that meant was that way they could contain it just in that court jurisdiction, as opposed to it going bigger to do that. So those are kind of the voices that we need to be able to get and cross over and touch and all of that. Does that make sense?
I think you're 100% on the mark on that, because there's nothing more impactful than those type of things, those near misses, or someone going to a gun store saying, "Oh my God, I what do you mean I can't buy a gun?"
Mm-hmm.
Those things are, it triggers something visceral that you can't forget it. And but let's face it, the side of the anti-gun folks and even the far left, they are very good at marketing. Their message is so well hidden, and it just doesn't even look at exactly what they're trying to do.
Nope.
It doesn't even appear to be that way. And they're just great at it, and we are not.
Because we use facts.
Yep.
And they use emotion.
Yes.
And emotion, they're like, facts shouldn't have anything to do with it. And we're like, but the facts say.
Yeah.
And they use emotion. So we have to figure out how to play in their arena. But we also got a huge win in the last couple of weeks. And I don't know if you guys have caught this yet, or if you've even discussed it. the U.S. aid funding and defunding.
Yeah.
Did you see where almost $60 million went into the anti-gun groups to use
did.
our money against us?
Yeah.
So that John Crump article really has, so I believe it was John Crump published in Ammoland. And when I reached out to him, I was like, I need some facts on that. And he was like, stay tuned. There's more.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm
Not only
like,
that,
okay.
pair that with the fact that they're dumping money into those news organizations. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
that's the reason. It's those puppet strings. It's what it is. I'm sorry, Rick. I didn't know if I interrupted you there, but
No, it's just it's the propaganda machine.
Yeah.
Right. So this is where, your very own government is being, well, let's rephrase. Your government with your tax dollars are going
Yes.
against to infringe your rights.
Mhm.
Correct.
And whether it's the propaganda machines and you can pick whatever mainstream media outlet you want that's going to push the fear and everything else. And, we've had a huge discussion here. And I've always been of the, why did the founding fathers do 2-2-1-1? Because I was like, it should have been backwards, right? Flip that around. But then when you start realizing when your ability to speak to another American on topics is taken away, or to actually give the truth, the facts, however you want to look at it, is taken away, that's huge. But the other part people forget, and I keep my little copy of the Constitution close by, right? Recommend, easy read, people should read it and check it out. But the key part with the Second Amendment that people forget, the wording shall not be infringed. No other amendment has it in there. Why do they, why was that wording put in there to that specific amendment? Because the founding fathers knew.
Yeah, they
And
lived through it. Yep.
that's the part that, you have all these people want to argue, you have all these people want to say whatever they want, shall not be infringed, right? You can put your, hey man, 18 to buy a rifle, 21 to buy a pistol. Okay. But at the end of the day, you can't sit there and infringe on individuals going, hey man, I want to go purchase. Nope. Oh, you live in this state. Nope. Can't carry here. Nope. It's like you've lost your ever loving mind. But I would like to see the messaging get across better from the NRA on the aspect of this. It's kind of like how Safariland does when they have their police officers saved wearing body armor. They've got their saves. And I know you can read it in the magazine. Hey, armed citizen, it'll have little excerpts in there. But how do we get that out
Right.
to everyday Americans to go, oh, another individual, right? Whatever that situation is, they use the firearm to save their lives, especially from all these illegals we got, right? That would be my first highlight, because inadvertently our country's more dangerous from the past administration's policies, and highlight the individual Americans saving themselves. If I did not have this tool, where would I be? So
For sure.
No, I like
Marcus made a comment, Marcus Kahn from Modern Spartan Systems, where he will put his link in the comment section and description. But he's talking about we the people are fighting back, and he's right, and I totally agree. He also mentioned the NRA 2.0, and you mentioned that phrase as well. What do you think that's going to look like if this election doesn't go the way you want, or if it goes the way you want?
So I think that regardless, the people who have been on the board, there are some people who have been on the board that they're on the board, and their whole purpose is so that their tombstone can say that they were an NRA board member. And they've been on there for a gazillion years. And I think that this ought to be sort of like some of the other things where you come on when you see that you're not doing good work anymore, then you roll off and let somebody else step up. But 2.0 is to reinvigorate it and re-energize it and refocus it and look at it and say the things that we were doing 10 years ago aren't working anymore. I mean, look at how everything has shifted and changed. We're talking Facebook, we're talking, marketing, we're talking the news, we're talking, just all of that kind of stuff. And if you're not keeping up engineering wise, they had a term that says if you rest, you rust. And that's really it. And so 2.0 is new and energized. So right now, the group that is fighting for NRA 2.0 is the majority on the board. But in a lot of cases, Robert's Rules of Order make it so where you have to have a supermajority. And so we're duking it out. And the NRA board meetings are now 15 hours long. They're marathon sessions of the board where we're not just sitting down going, okay, fine, whatever you say, rubber stamp it. Nope. Explain it to me. Tell me why. Tell me what we're doing. We'll fight over words. This word has meaning. That word has meaning. Whatever that is, so that we're in a better spot. And so that's what's happening with NRA 2.0. So if the slate of candidates gets it and they get in, I believe that what's going to happen is that there are people who have never voted before that are voting members that are eligible to vote, but didn't know why, didn't know who to vote for. I've never met a board member. And so we're out speaking to people through podcasts and public speaking events and in person and wherever, so that people get to meet board members and see what's going on. But I believe that we're going to double the amount of people who vote in this election. And it's going to be made up of people who've never voted before. And so that's going to give us the supermajority to start to clear out some of the folks who just keep digging in and saying, you can't change this, you can't change that, you can't change the other. And so that is what is really at stake. Is it going to turn into a reasonable, 10-hour board meeting, or is it still going to be midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning before the board meeting is over? Because that's really where we've been since this new group got elected this last year. When we took over and put our candidate in as the EVP, we've got both the vice president and the second vice president that are on the Patriot side or the NRA 2.0 side. And so there's really good things that are happening, but there's a lot of politics. There's a lot of strategy. There's a lot of things. Well, here is an example. I'm on a committee, and one of the committees is working on stuff. And what they tried to do was that they tried to actually create a thing that said that no one that hadn't been on the board for 5 years continuous was eligible to be one of the officers of the NRA board. So that they would take all the new people and make them so they're not eligible to be an officer. Then they were putting a minimum age limit and a maximum, all of this kind of stuff. And it was like, wait, why are you doing that? Oh, well, because when I joined the board, I didn't know what was going on for more than 5 years. Well, then, dude, pull your head out of wherever and pay attention and read and look and ask and talk and do your homework. And I'm not going to take and say, we get somebody who's brilliant and we're telling them, oh, you can't invoke change and you can't make change because you haven't put enough time at grade in. And it's like, no, that's not happening. So they built the committee in such a manner to where I argued that point and I lost. And so it was happening and it was going to go in and then we were going to have to argue it on the floor of the board itself. And so I was going to have to duke it out again. And then I'm sitting in this meeting of the committee, and one of the people had a hard stop and they left the meeting. And I'm looking and I'm like, I can count votes. Hey, I make a motion, and I circled back and pulled it out, and they didn't have the votes to defend it. And so, but it's that kind of stuff. We're at a spot with the board right now. You cannot afford to go to the bathroom because something is going to happen while you're out of the room.
Yeah.
But that's the fight we're in. And we have a group of people who are well equipped to make that fight. And it is a good time. God puts you in a place at a time for a reason with skill sets. And I truly believe that when I look at all of the things that I've been through and worked through and the jobs that I've had and all of that kind of stuff, it's like, this is the time and this is the reason. And the NRA has existed 154 years before me. I'm a third generation NRA member, and I'll be darned, it's going to exist another 154 years after me.
So, Amanda, let me ask you this, if you can put some insight into this.
Mhm.
I'm trying to wrap my head around the board. You would
Yep.
think that all the members there are pro 2A, but it
Mhm.
almost sounds like they're not, or trying to take things in a direction that give me a little bit backside, because I'm trying to understand if our goal is to preserve the second to its utmost capability,
Mhm.
take all infringement out of,
Mhm.
out of these different places. Where's the buck, or what's the drama, or what's going
Why
on behind the
why
scenes?
Yeah, what's going on? I get it. Some of it I don't know. I'm gonna tell you I don't know, because you sit there and you look at it. I don't know if you guys caught that last year they were trying to force the NRA to move to Texas. And it was like, okay, why are we leaving Virginia? Why are we walking away from Washington, or
Right.
being
Mhm.
within, 20-minute drive of DC, to be able to move to Texas? And it was like, I still, we duked that out. We fought it out. And if you want something entertaining, go dig out a YouTube video of David Yamani at the members meeting last year, where there you could see the board members in the members meeting duking it out with the officers who were trying to force us to move to Texas without having done any homework, without doing any due diligence. And it's like, it doesn't make sense. So sometimes I can tell you I don't know why. And and everybody comes saying that they defend the Second Amendment. There's times when there are some groups that are absolutely no compromise, and then there's some that are, and I kind of am going to put myself in this category that says ground gained is ground gained. You gain it, you hold it, you gain it, you hold it, and you keep
Mhm.
moving on. There are some who are like, I'm not going to flex at all, and I'll take nothing rather than any ground gained. And so you, in the Second Amendment world, we have that. But there are just some that I absolutely fail to understand. And and I don't want to call them names, and I don't want to say this or that, but some of them, I'm going to say that their stuff is their where they were, what they were doing, what they were putting forward, it just calls into question their professionalism, their credibility, and their overall purpose of why they are on the board, and why, in my opinion, they shouldn't be on the board now.
So, from just your opinion, do you think some of these decisions, i.e., like the move to Texas,
Hmm.
you think somebody's got their hand in the cookie jar somewhere trying to get some extra money on something?
There's cookie crumbs
Okay.
laying on the table. I,
Say,
you know, I can't tell you, but I can tell you that that at a point in time, Wayne LaPierre, this is proven. Wayne
mhm,
LaPierre had worked with the marketing firm, and had with the intent to shift $7 million of NRA member funds into an LLC that the NRA had no ownership of, to buy a house that Wayne LaPierre lived in Texas. Okay.
Whoa.
He was caught. It was stopped, but they put down so it was an amazing house. It must have been an amazing house. They put down earnest money of $70,000. And yet, so there is that. Wayne LaPierre was forced by the New York courts to pay the NRA back $5.2 million.
Wow.
Okay. So, and he has paid it back. So
Wow.
we've gone after him. That one of the treasurers, or the treasurer, is required to pay back $2 million. He hasn't paid it back yet. Right.
mhm.
So there is that. And it's like, okay, so what's going on? Why is it like that? Who was raiding the cookie jar? Who was, and is it raiding the cookie jar, or is it just all the extra stuff that comes along with it? Fancy cars and nice dinners. And I don't know. But all of that got in the way of fighting to defend the Second Amendment.
Mhm. Yeah.
And
And
so it's got to stop. And it has stopped. And that is one of the reasons why we're doing what we're doing. And this election is absolutely so critical, as is the next 2 years.
Mhm.
So mark down the website, elect a new NRA, and know that we're going to use that website next year and the year after to give all of our folks the candidates that we've looked at and say that, these are the best of this pool of candidates that we can sort out. And everybody's got an opinion, and maybe this person isn't for you or that person isn't for you, but on the whole, this person is better than that person, kind of
Yeah.
thing. You look at it, sometimes it is political, and we're running it like it's a political campaign. And Marcus is saying people need to get involved 100% and not to sit on the sidelines. And I cannot stress that enough. I mean, right now, if you can go find your magazine and open it up, we bought an ad. We had a group of people who believe in this so much that we paid $40,000 for an ad in the middle of the NRA magazine to give you the candidates, because we believe in that. And I'm
Can
not
you
on
print
it.
can you print that out on the NRA website or anything like that? If you don't
So,
have yours or you haven't voted yet?
so you have to contact the office, because it is
Okay.
like in a ballot.
Okay.
So it is like like voting. It is voting. It is like the election for the president.
Mhm.
So they want to control who has them, who's eligible for them, so that they come in and they get their signatures checked. So if you cannot find your February magazine, you can contact the NRA and they will confirm that your ballot has not come in, and then they will send you a new one.
Okay, we'll put that, if we can find a link or something that can help, we'll
Mhm.
put it in the show notes as well. And we'll also do elect your new NRA. We'll put that in the show notes as well.
So the website Elect a New NRA actually has a picture of what the front cover of all of the 4 magazines that your ballot may be in
Perfect.
there, so that you can look at it and you can see it.
Okay.
This is really, it really is critical. And there was one other thing that you guys said that struck a nerve with me, and it was talking about the news and talking about how they own the narrative.
Mhm.
I want you to listen and watch the news and pay attention to how many times they call President Donald Trump Mr. Trump.
Yeah. Oh, it's
So
all by design for sure.
it is
Yeah.
all by design that they are stripping him of the things. I mean, they called him President Obama. They called him President Obama even when he was a former president, and that because that name sticks. So Donald Trump is president 2 times over. But when you look at that and you look at what they're doing to him, you look at what they're doing to the Second Amendment, you look at what they're doing to the marketing, advertising of your local gun shops and your local organizations, you look at your politicians that are petrified to say that they stand with the NRA or they stand with pro-gun people, yet the majority of the population owns guns. It's crazy. It is the news narrative, and we have to take it back. So I thank you guys for everything that you're doing with your show, because that's another piece of it to get the message out to everybody.
Yeah,
Well,
100%, Amanda, because the bottom line is this: mainstream media, in my opinion, and I think for most Americans, is dead. It's just it's a propaganda machine, and we're still trying to figure out who's the puppet master behind it, right? Who's feeding them the narrative? Who's doing all this stuff? We got our suspicions, but 100% we'll continue to push the message. And I'll tell you straight up, I was one of those guys that, dude, I'd see hey, vote for the board. Pfft, yeah, right. Rip that thing out, pitch in the trash because it's garbage, right? But now I'm going to go make sure I sit there and vote. I appreciate all the info. I'd suggest all the other NRA members as well. Go do some due diligence because this is an important deal. And especially with NRA 2.0 coming on board, let's start making some change. Let's start doing the right things because let's be an honest broker. The NRA's reputation has been tarnished, but looking to bring it back stronger, form the alliance with the other Pro 2A entities out there, regardless what they are, and get that common messaging, right? And I think that's the key part. If you look at it, between if you want to say personal websites or business websites, the podcasts, everything's social. You can't do any type of marketing, advertising, educating, because that narrative is twisted, right? They're going to run it through the little AI algorithm. If it says something guns 2A, you try to be all secret, they catch all that stuff. But I'm 100% with you. It's the grassroots getting out, let people know. So I'm going to go back and NRA members, hey man, get out there and get your vote in. I want to kind of shift just a little bit if you're good with it. I want to talk about Eye on the Target Radio, what you guys have going on there and kind of what's that all about?
So we started in Akron, Ohio, Cleveland, Ohio, and our show was a call-in radio show where we answered questions about guns. And so it was when Ohio was first passing their concealed carry law, and nobody seemed to understand how the concealed carry law was. Well, it was like, well, don't read the summary. The summary book for Ohio for concealed carry was thinner and less pages than the book on riding a bicycle on the street. That's how it was in Ohio. And so the law itself was 168 pages. So we looked at it, we read it, we've gone back and forth with it. And so the radio station would call us and say, would you come on and answer questions for our listeners? Sure. And then they ask us if we would just come on and do a monthly show. Sure. Then they said, how about weekly? Sure. And it went from there. So we started in 2010 doing a weekly show that ask and answered questions about guns and concealed carry and all of that kind of stuff. And then Salem Radio picked us up for national syndication in 2018. And so now the program changed a little because now it's more news and information and interviews than it is call-in, because the Salem, it just wasn't set for that. Though I do have to say that I love those off the cuff, call-in kind of shows.
Those are fun.
They really are my favorite. And so that's kind of how we got started. And so then one day I was looking and I was like, there's not a lot of women doing this. And then I started to research it and found out that for national syndication, there's one, and that's it. And so it's kind of a good place to be. There's quite a few women podcasters, and I love that. And I spend as much time as I possibly can helping new podcasters and radio folks and how to market their stuff and how to get out there and how to set up their stuff so that they look professional and they sound professional. And it's truly, and I am an accidental advocate, but it is a labor of love to be able to get the message out, to stand firm as a conservative that stands for the Second Amendment, and frankly, look at me. I don't look like your typical, you'll see me at the grocery store and nobody would say that she screams like she's got a gun, right? And so I vote
the way you want it.
I vote with my concealed carry license until Ohio just recently changed their law. But it's that kind of thing. I want people to see that gun owners are everybody. Tony Simon calls it the second is for everyone. That's his shtick, and he is so right. It doesn't matter who you are, what your age is. Recently, I took two 80-year-olds to the range to teach them how to shoot firearms for the very first time in their life. Wow. Right? I mean, that's what this is about.
Yeah.
For me, it's a no-brainer for shows like yourself, like the On the Range podcast, for groups like the NRA to jump on board, put a little bit behind them, and just start pushing that stuff out and sharing it on their websites. Because, like you said, those throttles are being pulled. It's easy to get out to get these websites out in all your publications, all these other radio shows. They interchangeable and they work with the marketing piece. I just don't see it. And I don't know why, but hopefully the NRA 2.0, if it starts to work the way you think it's going to work, maybe that'll change, because that's awesome being syndicated as well as you are, and that's big, very impressive.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. And Mark, you bring up a great point. And then Amanda, I want to throw one quick question at you, kind of off the cuff, since you like for a call in. No, but it's imagine if the NRA, like you're saying, partners with whether it's podcasts, radio shows, firearms instructors, and gets a common message out there. So you look at the instructor, he's out there on the ground with the students, right?
Mhm.
Hey man, you guys NRA members? Here's the because
Right.
everyone's why should I, right? They think it's just a bunch of old guys stealing all their money. It's getting the
Mhm.
proper messaging out there. I mean, that to me is huge. And then have some backing, NRA just
Mhm.
helping promote, right? Then in turn, you're helping them promote. It's all gets down to the
Right.
grassroots, at the
It
end of the
is. It
day.
does. Hmm.
Yeah.
But I wanted to throw one at you because you brought up an interesting point. So for that new podcaster coming on, what would
Hmm.
be your one piece of marketing advice to help them grow their show?
Well, the first one is get good gear. And good gear, frankly, the good gear is a laptop and about $250 you can be set up to go. I don't know what you guys use, but when I travel, I use the PodTrack P4 by Zoom,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
it's phenomenal, right? And so you can buy it on Amazon, you can buy it at Sweetwater, wherever, but have good gear. So now you sound good.
Mhm.
That's the first thing. And then the second thing is, if you want guests on your show, ask.
Yeah.
Because everybody that's out there is looking for getting their message out. They're looking for the cross-functional. There's that. And the third thing is, you'll have a whole lot more success once you are consistent on a weekly basis and that you've got more than 10 shows in a can. Because 10 is the magic number that most of them die before they ever get there. They
Yeah.
they believe in themselves and then they don't, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Great advice. Great advice. We're
Yeah.
actually using the Zoom H6 still.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's been great. We're thinking
I'm
about
just gonna
updating
say
it.
my little pod track. I mean, this is
Is
how
that is
little it
that
is.
that's the one I think we're gonna upgrade to, yeah.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
it is. It's it's been fabulous.
Yeah, this thing is great. We've had it ever since damn near the beginning, but, you're so right about, being consistent. I think we're over 500 episodes now, and it's a blink of an eye. It's a lot of fun,
Mhm.
but there's no shortage of believing ourselves even when, our wives are rolling their eyes behind us.
Oh, yeah. Hey,
I,
hey, did you
I
listen
have
to
a
the latest episode? No.
I have a story for that. So my brother is my radio partner, and he's
Oh,
like
good.
he grew up reading the Dixie Gunworks magazine. I mean, so he's a
Mhm.
gun historian, like to the nth degree. And his daughter was applying for college, and she said, Dad, they want to know what your career is, what your title is." And he said, "Well, tell them that I'm a nationally syndicated radio host." And she said, "No, Dad, really? They'll just throw that away." It was like, "No, he
So
is."
true. So true.
She was like, "No, no, no. They will not believe that, Dad. I need something
Right,
else."
right. What a great story.
Oh,
Well, Amanda, it's been fantastic, and we're glad we got to plug your radio show because we know you wouldn't have done it on your own because you're so passionate about helping the 2A folks, and it's just been great. And honestly, you should come back, give us some updates, and be a regular on the show because fantastic information.
Oh, well, thank you. I really very much appreciate it.
Yeah,
yeah.
So
No, I
thanks for
think
having me.
and I'm going to advocate, with Mark. I think there's definitely a point to come back, um, to highlight some things going on, especially in the 2A community that people don't know. Hey, if there's some legislative action getting ready to happen or something,
right.
uh, there's a
Mhm.
potential infringe. Shoot us a note, and that's super easy. It's like, hey, let's fire up an emergency show and get it out there.
Yeah.
Okay, well, the next time we need Marcus on there, Marcus from Modern Sporting Systems, because
Yep.
he's in the background, and I know it's killing him that his system kept.
But
Uh, uh,
Yeah, we
so
tried a couple times. We'll get him in there, but all
so
his stuff should
Marcus
be in the show notes.
Marcus needs to take your advice and kind of check out his backside technical stuff. Start with some Starlink.
Uh,
One of
Amanda,
those kind of
stand
things.
by, and we'll bring you back out for a post production. But again, thanks for being here,
Thank you.
buddy. Fantastic home
Man,
run,
dude, let me tell you
home
this.
run.
Always great having a fantastic guest, but really getting that education piece in there.
Yeah,
I can't reiterate it enough. Prior to the show, if I told my NRA members go out there and vote for the board, I'd be sitting there lying to you. Dude, as soon as we're done, I'm going to find that magazine. I'm going to the website, elect a new NRA. I'm going to start digging, and let's change that organization for the better to support our 2A rights. So
100%.
absolutely fantastic, man.
Yeah. Anyway, everyone who joined us on the audio side of the house or the video side of the house, we really appreciate it. Make sure you go by ontherangepodcast.com. If you like this content, you get a bunch of exclusive content by joining the crew members. Join the crew members. It's a like-minded individual international group. It's a lot of fun. If you join some of the tiers, you can get in there and try it for free. You get access to our training catalogs, all that stuff. It's just a lot of fun. So make sure you go to ontherangepodcast.com and check out the crew members.
As always, guys, make sure you guys train hard, stay safe, and we'll see you on the range.